So today we're going to be talking about our different exponent rules. All right, so first we have the product rule. And this states that when you have the same base, so notice that these are both A, and you multiply them together with different exponents, you add the exponents together. So for instance, let's say you had A to the fourth power times A to the second power. This is the same as A to the fourth plus second power, or A to the sixth power. All right, so you add those exponents. The power of a product rule says that if you have something in parentheses taken to an exponent, you take both of those things to that exponent. So for instance, if I have AB to the third power, this is the same as A to the third power, B to the third power. Okay? Power to a product means that if you have something in parentheses to an exponent and you take it to another exponent, then you add those exponents together. So let's say we had A to the second power raised to the third power. This would be A to the 2 times 3, or A to the sixth power. All right, and when you're dividing the same bases with exponents, you subtract the exponents. So let's say we had A to the seventh power over A to the fourth power. Well, this is going to be saying A to the 7 minus 4, which is A to the third power. And then lastly, if we have a quotient that is taken to an exponent, you have to make sure you give the exponent to the numerator and the denominator. So for instance, if I had A over B to the fifth power, this is going to be A to the fifth power over B to the fifth power. All right, so those are all of our exponent rules. Okay, first thing we're going to do today is I would like you to use your calculator and take all of these to the power that they ask you to. So 2 to the third power, in your calculator, you're going to type 2, and then there's a button that looks like this right under the clear button. So you're going to click that button and then 3. And you should get 8. All right, go ahead and try 3 to the first power. Should have gotten 3. Letter C, take -4 to the second power. Make sure you use parentheses. Should have positive 16. Now take -4 to the second power without parentheses. You should have had negative 16. Now, this just shows that you need to be very, very careful when you're typing these in your calculator, because if you don't use parentheses when you're supposed to, you're going to get 2 different answers. All right, so make sure you're using those parentheses. All right, let's try 1/2 to the fourth power. All right, you should have gotten 1 over 16. And if we use our exponent rules, maybe you didn't know how to do this in the calculator. Remember, this would be the same as 1 to the fourth power over 2 to the fourth power. So 1 to the fourth power is just 1. And then 2 to the fourth power is 16. All right, let's take 0.5 to the third power. Should have had 0.125. And then lastly, let's take 4 times 3 to the second power. All right, so this would be the same as 4 times 9, which is 36. All right, so that was just some practice with exponents in our calculator. All right, now let's practice these exponent rules. Okay, so this first one, we have 2 things multiplied together. And remember, when we have the same base and they're multiplied together, that is the product rule. And we add those exponents. So for example, on this one, I only have one x, so this stays x squared. And then I have y to the fourth, and I'm adding 6 to it. So this is going to be x squared y to the 10th power. All right, the next one, notice we have some coefficients there. Now this is super, super important because we get so in the rhythm of adding our exponents together. People are like, oh, so I'm going to do 5 plus 2. But ultimately, we are still multiplying here. So we're doing 5 times 2, which is 10. And then x is to the 5th power, and we have to add to the 2nd power to that. And then y is to the 7th power, and we're going to add the 3rd power to that. So my final answer here would be 10x to the 7th, y to the 10th. All right, for this one, we're going to use our exponent to another exponent rule. So this is going to be 4 to the 2nd power, x, we're taking 3 times 2, and then y, we're taking 5 times 2. We're multiplying those exponents together. So 4 squared is 16, 3 times 2 is 6, and 5 times 2 is 10, okay? Notice the difference between when you add the exponents and when you multiply them, okay? If you're multiplying the bases together, you add the exponents. But if you're taking an exponent to another exponent, then you have to multiply the exponents, okay? All right, let's look at this one here. So the first thing that we're going to have to deal with is this exponent to the 2nd power. So I'm just going to rewrite my 3x squared. But then this second thing, remember, I have to take this exponent and I have to make sure I bring each thing inside the parentheses to that exponent. So this is going to be 5 to the 2nd power and then x to the 8th power. All right, so now this is 25x to the 8th power. Now my coefficients, remember, I'm multiplying. 3 times 25 is 75. But my exponents, they have the same base, which is x, so I'm adding those together. So this is going to be 75x to the 10th power. All right, now we're going to move on to some division here. So just like we talked about before, the coefficients, we're still following those regular rules. 14 divided by 7 is 2. But my exponent rule with quotient states that I subtract the exponents. So this is going to be x to the 5 minus 2 and y to the 3 minus 1. Because remember, if there's nothing written there, we just assume it's a 1. So for this one, we have 2x to the 3rd, y to the 2nd. Okay, try this with the next one here. So we have 20 over 24, okay? This is a fraction. That's not going to give us a nice number like letter E did, where we just got a 2. That we are just going to simplify that fraction, okay? Both of those numbers can be divided by 4. So I'm going to have 5 over 6. All right. Now let's look at our exponents here. This is going to be x to the 8 minus 7, y to the 5 minus 4, and then we have z to the 1 minus 1. All right, so we're going to have 5x to the 1st power, y to the 1st power, z to the 0 power over 6. All right, so really we can think of those z's as canceling out. So this is going to be 5xy over 6 would be my final answer for that one. All right, so a lot going on there. Make sure that you are using the coefficients as regular numbers. We're not doing exponent rules with coefficients. We're only doing exponent rules with exponents. All right, I would like you to go ahead and try letter G on your own. All right, when you subtract those exponents, you're going to get xy squared. All right, and then letter H is going to be 2 steps. So I'll do the first step with you, and then I'm going to have you kind of finish it off. So remember, I have an exponent to an exponent. So I need to make sure I'm giving this exponent to every single thing inside of those parentheses. So this is going to be x to the 2 times 4 over 2 to the 4th y 3 times 4. All right, and I would like you to go ahead and simplify that. All right, and you should have gotten x to the 8th over 16 y to the 12th.